Women can't be in trucking. I intend to talk about that. Women can't be in trucking because women are threatened, harassed, and to this day are made to feel less than adequate and really incapable of doing work in a man's world. And in 2024, that's incredibly, incredibly disgraceful. And this needs to change. And this is the show where we talk about that very thing.
From Truckin City headquarters and our mobile studios, deep in the heart of Truckin Today, a Media Matters podcast for truckers today. Talking news, your host, Boss Man.
Howdy ho and good day, America, trucking family, and those willing to give of your time and watch this show growing ever so slowly. Thank you for joining us. Talking today about a topic that's near and dear to my heart. Yes, the thumbnail said it very accurately, but not for the reasons you think. I'm not downing women. I'm encouraging them. There is far too many circumstances in the news lately that I've seen where women are put down and made to feel like they can't do the job we do. Female truckers in trucking today represent a minority. And yeah, I know it's an interest thing to one degree, but it's also almost a necessity. And this, in this day and age, needs to change. Because you know what? Women are just as capable of doing the job we do as you and I are. Yes, I'm talking to you, man. We need to give them more credit. And furthermore, we need to do some other things too. We need to make some changes. So we're going to talk about that here in just a moment. First, let me briefly tell you, Media Matters. We are together in this channel, Truckin City Media, all about news and trucking. We are about attacking issues from the front line, hence my Saturday show, which you see up top, currently set Saturday at 11 o'clock in the morning. I encourage you to be there every week. We talk about the issues. We meet the press head on. Our sole purpose is to talk about the issues that affect trucking that don't make mainstream media. And when, in fact, the mainstream media gets it wrong, we hold them to account. We are what make them honest. We are going to present you a story on Media Matters and on Frontline. We are going to present you with a story. We are going to present you with the premise of that story. I am then going to pull something out of that story that I think needs more attention, just like today. So pay attention. It's going to get real. We'll debate that premise. We'll talk about the good and the bad. And at the very end, we'll arrive at what I consider the truth. Hi, I'm Boss Man. In case you haven't met me, I'm a very opinionated guy. I think a lot needs to change. So much so, I started a channel and I started a podcast. We can make trucking great again. So today on the docket for discussion is an issue that really troubles me. Not so much personally in the trucking area, but it troubles me because worldwide we see it happen all the time. You know, I've always been of the mindset that the dream doesn't care about the gender. The dream doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. You are just as entitled to that dream, whether you've got them in the back or whether you got them in the front. And I'm making it family friendly, but you know what I'm talking about. If a dream is put in a man's heart, the same dream for a woman should not be dependent on society's rules. To hell with society. Currently, women only occupy the seats of 8% of the trucks in this country. Think about that. The predominantly male-dominated culture of the trucking industry has women in a box, so to speak, and it's holding them back. And furthermore, it's holding us back too, okay? But at the same time, propelling others. For example, it's propelling Travel Centers of America to get involved neck deep in the issue of making the environment safe for not only its workers, but its travelers. And I'd like to highlight for you for just a moment one key reason why I think this initiative needs more sticking power.
Parked at a truck stop, and she had to use the restroom.
I got up late last night to go to the bathroom, which I never do at night, and was walking in, didn't have my phone on me, didn't have my wallet on me, was just going in to go to the bathroom, and a gentleman walked up behind me and grabbed me, and luckily a bull hauler and a flatbedder saw what was going on and came to my rescue. To say it was terrifying and scary, it is. It was not the truck stop I am at right now. I'm in Illinois. When the police did show up, the guy had a few bruises and marks on him, to say the least. He had some very serious charges and was a repeat offender, had been in and out of prison. Luckily, I had parked like I usually do when I go to truck stops, and I try to find a long-nosed truck, a bull hauler, pig hauler, flatbedder, just because they have instruments that hurt if you do anything. And if those two gentlemen had not been sitting in their seats and seen what was going on, I probably would not be here.
And she thought something like this would never happen to her. And it should never happen. And it's sad that it was another truck driver.
And you know what? I agree. The fact that it was another truck driver that actually accosted her, and no one knows, she didn't say what truck stop area, whatever. She didn't say where this happened. Okay, I get that. I get why she said that and why she handled it the way she did. But the fact that she actually got a camera on and depositioned her experience, kudos to you. I mean, kudos. Lady, whoever you are, I'm sorry that you had to endure that, first of all. Second of all, the fact that you got the grajones to actually turn the camera on. Yeah, sure, you didn't look at the camera. I don't blame you. I'm not debating that issue here on this show. But you spoke up and you made known an issue that probably, I'm just being generous, 90% of women in this industry don't want to speak up on. And I think that we need to take that a step further. First of all, kudos to TA for taking the positive steps. I am going to link below, if it's not already there, a link to the story featuring TA's working with the women. I think there's a women's trucking group. Trying to see, because I'm losing my place here. Travel Centers of America to establish a women's safety advisory group, which brings together professional drivers and industry members to discuss and address safety concerns. Amen to TA. Makes me feel real good about fueling up and stopping it overnight. in that neck of the woods. Let me tell you. All right. I've got one more thing I want to bring to your attention, and then I'm going to invite some comments from not only the viewers, but calls. I'll open the studio lines as well. I want to hear if I'm not the only one that feels this way. I want to know I'm not freaking crazy, because you know what? We can do better than 88%. We can do better than 8% in this industry. There are other industries that have far larger numbers, and I really do think it's it is a shame. It really is. So, but let's look at this for just one moment from the opposite spectrum. Okay, you've got these companies like TA that are actually being proactive, and they're helping, and they're doing the right thing. What about the companies that have done the opposite? Okay, let's also note some companies that have done quite the opposite. There are those that turn a blind eye to this kind of stuff. One such person we probably have all seen and heard from would be a leading example for me to take and turn it on, talk about that. Listen to this.
Brittany Richardson, you're gonna pay.
I face death threats, false accusations. He will try to kick in my front door. I refuse to give up.
Shame on any major carrier for this kind of behavior.
And yes, you saw that. That was one of her feature videos that was on her channel. That was right after a point in time where she was basically forced out. Now, that's my take. I mean, go to her channel, BRETV. Go to her channel and look up her videos. She tells the story way better than I do. But I'm going to summarize it like this. The company that she worked for at the time, and I will not mention that company. I'm not going to mention by name because I'm not in the business of downing companies or tarnishing anybody. But I'm going to tarnish the reputation that they created for themselves. And that's that they turned a blind eye to the men and women that worked in that company with her, and they did nothing. Management in that company she worked for at the time did nothing. In fact, they gave her a golden ticket to go under on her lease. She saved her own butt. Good for her. She's strong-willed. She's independent. She knows what she's doing. Thank God for that. Brittany Richardson, you're a star in my book. And yeah, I'll probably make some haters out there. But you know what? As many haters as I get as many admirers. So y'all have fun with that. But the point I'm making in this show and with this particular topic I'm talking about today is that we need to do better, not only for ourselves, but our women too. Okay? This is ridiculous. So it needs to change. It's true of society, and it's also true of our industry. Okay? Let's open up the phone lines. Let's begin talking about this. We can make trucking great again. One issue, one topic, one day at a time. So if you're out there and you've got something you feel would benefit this show, women in general, or the trucking industry, give us a call, 860-785-3547, 860-785-3547. Right now, perfect segue to give everybody an honest understanding of an old-timer's view on women in trucking. The grumpy old codger himself, grumpy old Frank. How you doing there, buddy?
Hello, I'm doing just fine this morning.
So with everything,
morning my time.
Good morning your time, right? You're always behind me. I'm not going to go there. So with everything I've led up to and begun the show talking about, what is your take and your thought on women in trucking and the abuse and their position? Everything I've said, what is your thoughts?
Oh my, where to start? Let me tell you what, I'm a firm believer in any woman that wants to get out here and do our job. And I am like you, kudos to them big time, because our job is very hard and strenuous at times, and it's very mind taking. And when I see a woman driver that's out here doing her job just like we are, and she's out there and she's not asking for a handout. This lady is here to try to make a living just like us. She doesn't
Mhm.
need to be picked at. She doesn't need to be, scavenged like she's a lot lizard, or treated like one. She
Mhm.
doesn't need to be downsized and said, well, she's a woman. She belongs in a kitchen, or she belongs at home cleaning house. No, no. This society now today, women have just as much rights as us men. Therefore, they should be out here, if they want to be, doing the same exact job as us. If they're able to do it, go for it. I am a firm believer in that.
Amen to that. Driving with John is in the house in the background because he's actually driving with John. So he says maybe they need to raise the standards on hiring people that have a criminal background. Repeat offenders sounded like the guy has done this multiple times. Yes. And that is actually and again, thank you for being in my mind, John, because I was going to mention that and it was on my script, but I skipped over it. It is a very important point. One of the things I think needs to take place, and I think I was going to mention that a little later on in the show, um, they do need to do a lot about the standards by how they hire anybody. I mean, whether you're a criminal or whatever, I mean, I do think they're easily passing people through. And I think what it amounts to, it amounts to a waiting game. I mean, because honestly, not to beat a dead horse about somebody that we all know. I mean, and I'm not trying to sound facetious by making that statement. But to the point of the waiting game, I mean, I think it's a valid point to make. I mean, look at Brittany's situation. She endured unnecessary harassment from inside the company. And what's bad is when she did say something to the company, they did nothing. They just sat back and waited. Then it came from people outside the company. She received death threats, attempted sabotage. People tried to a number of things to intimidate her. And basically, what they wanted to do was deplatform her. For whatever reason, they felt threatened by her presence. And next thing you know, she's reaching out to the company for help, and they do nothing. But more to the point of what he was talking about, um, the first situation with the first story I broadcast, he was a repeat offender. And that's the point John was picking up on. Okay. Now, I don't know the full story behind this fella, but I do know one thing. If you've got a sexual offense, you find it hard to get any privileges whatsoever. So it boggles my mind how a man could even get a CDL to begin with, much less a job with a reputable company. I don't know what company he was with, but
I, I,
anybody worth their salt would, obviously look away from somebody like that. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, I do know a person personally that actually had a CDL at one time, and he didn't. He's registered as a sex offender. Yes. Long story short, he was falsely accused, but it was unable to be proven that he was falsely accused, so he didn't fight it and all that. It's against his record, and he was trying to get his CDL once again in the state that he resides with. They told him that it's not a problem with him getting a CDL. He can get a CDL. The problem he's going to run across is finding a company that would take him aboard.
Yeah.
And he did try a few places that I'd recommended to him, and of course, most of them turned him down.
Yep.
So it is a deal where now that there's so many of these companies that are as we call them, a fly by night, has made it a little bit easier because some of them doesn't do a thorough background check, and they're like, oh, okay, you have a CDL, okay, come
Mhm.
on aboard. So that may have been the problem of where he was going, as he went to work for a company like that,
Yeah.
and voila, there became the problem.
Yeah. Chris Hudson says society is collapsing. He says, I was a trucker, got out when Wall Street started spying on me. All right. I mean, that
Mm.
brings up another topic. Man, you're all about giving me ideas there, Chris. Be careful now. Yeah, but unfortunately, I'm not talking about why people are quitting. What I'm talking about is why people with the skills and the desire aren't entering. And this is a valid reason why. I think there's a lot to be said for society turning a blind eye to the very possibility that we can have diversity in this. I mean, who the hell said in the first place women can't be truckers? I'd like to meet that person, and rattle their cage a little bit, because you know what? Women can do it. John, you're probably going to hate me because I'm stealing your line here, but um, women are truckers too. I mean, let's be real here. I mean, women deserve credit. They deserve the opportunity and chance to chase their dreams the same way everyone else in society does. And the fact that we as a society have turned our ears and our eyes away from something as critical as safety for literally half the society is ridiculous. So kudos to TA and kudos to anyone else that feels it's necessary to help make the environment safer for women. Let's check a few more
I'd like.
comments.
Okay, I was going to say I was going to talk about something, but go ahead.
Well, I just noticed where Chris is making comments about Qualcomm's GPS. What a joke. Now electronic
Off the
logs.
topic.
Yeah. Well, no, he's not off topic. I mean, it kind of goes with what we're talking about. We as an industry are focused on the wrong things. Our focus is in the wrong direction. I mean, Frank, I'll get back with you here in just a second. But think about it. We are focused in the wrong direction. So the aim of my show today is let's talk about measures we can take. If you're watching the show now, or if you're watching it on the replay, first of all, hit the like button. If you're not already a subscriber to my channel, please hit the subscribe button. This is the kind of stuff I bring up. This is the kind of stuff that motivates me to talk to you about how to make trucking great again. All right? And if you want to find some off-topic stuff, go to Grumpy Old Truckers. He's on Facebook. He's on YouTube. He's becoming a presence. He's become serious about making content. And he's the man for really old-fashioned ideas. Because it's not just him. We've got 120 plus thousand people on our Facebook group, Grumpy Old Truckers, that feel a lot of ways and will probably give me a lot of flack for what I'm even talking about today. But you know what? That's just me. That's Truckin. God, I've been waiting to do that for a while. Background checks. Driving with John brought that up. Longer waiting periods. I think that's topic number one and idea number one. Come on back to me, screens. There we are. I mean, what do you think, Frank? I mean, background checks, yes. I mean, currently we give I think it's 4 weeks for a standard background check just to get into the industry and clear your CDL. Do we need to go longer?
Well, I believe you're right. They really should do a lot better thorough background checks. I mean, I know of most companies that I've ever worked for, they generally do a thorough background check, but they also, just an example, a company that I just resided from, they actually, even with your passengers, they will check them to make sure they don't have nothing major against them that would be like a felony type thing, and before they approve them to even ride. So I believe they should really do a good investigation towards these drivers, because if they got something that bad on them, and they're repeated, like you're bringing up on this topic here, no, I really don't feel that they should belong in an industry where they're, you know, out here around women and children because, as you know, a lot of drivers take their families with them. They have their children with them. A lot of truck
Hmm.
stops have children in them because a lot of people stop at them now. No, no, I draw a line there because, you know, those babies are precious. Ladies are
Hmm.
precious. They need to be treated that way. Whether they chew your head off or not when you make them mad, that's besides the point. The point is they're good people too, and
Yeah.
they deserve respect and to be
Yes.
treated well.
Yes.
And it just hurts my feelings to even see something like this happen to a lady.
Yep. What about Brittany's struggle? What about the idea? And this is idea number two. I've got a number of bullet points that I'd set out to talk about, kind of raise awareness on this. Should companies be more ready and willing to step up to defend women in these situations? Take for example her situation with Brittany. She did say stuff to management, and she did make them perfectly aware of what's going on. However, even as she said something, you know, it seemed like the company could care less. They were more interested in the bottom line than in the efficacy of her story and her environment to continue working. What do you think about that, Frank?
Well, after kind of talking to some other drivers that actually knew this lady personally,
Mm,
they've told me that that as they dug into it and found out it was a big time jealousy deal, not just
yeah.
because she was driving for this company, but it was also a jealousy because she had her YouTube going on, plus she had a side gig that was like kind of lingerie modeling and things, as we'll say. And a lot of these gentlemen got upset with it and stuff, and that's one reason why they just targeted her because they felt like, okay, you're getting too much attention, you're getting the
What
good
you're
loads,
talking Yeah, what
and
you're talking about is the very thing I laugh at, okay?
mm-hmm,
We're free, white, and over 21. That's
mm-hmm,
an expression my father used to use. Um, but having said that, being we're all adults and we're all capable of freedom of choice, okay? Brittany's nobody stranger from that. She was more
mm-hmm,
than capable of making the choices to do what she wanted to do,
mm-hmm,
which, by the way, was only just an innocent OnlyFans page that
mm-hmm.
she had set up basically to help run her dream. All she did was set up an OnlyFans page and used that page to advertise products, concepts, and things
Mm-hmm.
to help raise money so that her and her husband Jordan could then build a larger empire. It eventually helped her launch Midwest Rescue, which she runs now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it was originally designed so that she could get a fleet of trucks, I think is what her dream was.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted to, I mean, her whole stick was cancer awareness. I mean, I wished I had time to get it, but just the idea that she was so moved by a recounted story from a viewer of hers early on in her YouTube career. Um, an 18-year-old girl in this video that I'm remembering was afflicted with cancer, and she literally fell apart in that video. I mean, I felt
Mm-hmm.
bad for Brittany, but I also felt bad for the girl too. But all she wanted to do was make that dream come to life, you know. And to your point, Frank, you know, every time somebody gets on a positive and gets even an inkling or an inch towards success, you get this group of haters, and you get this whole, seesaw thing going on. You get the haters on one side, but you get the supporters on the other. And next thing you know, you're being rocked back and forth, and you don't know which way is up.
Yep.
So, and the same is true about rumors. Because there are people on the internet that had this chick, as a porno star, and oh my God, it was ridiculous. And
Yes, it was.
and and it was all uncalled for. All right. So on to a more friendlier and more positive note. I'm not putting Brittany or other girl down, but I'm all about solutions here. Okay. So here's what I'd like to offer as a means to change our industry. Okay. And matter of fact, I got to go here. I really do. Because I do think that where women are concerned, a large part of the responsibility also lies on you. Okay. If you're a woman in the audience, put in the chat. If you've
We'd
ever
love to hear
been,
from you.
yes, we'd love to hear from you. If you've ever been made to feel like you don't matter, you're less because it's up here and not back there, I want to know about it because it's unfair, uncalled for, and unnecessary.
Hmm.
Okay. If you're one of those kind of people that dealing with this kind of issue feel like it's not safe to say something, you're not alone, first of all. And I'd like to help you get past that. Because you know what? You're more important than the experience that led you to where you're at. Okay? Driving with John says allowing a truck exemption for personal protection device, if you know what I mean, nationwide would definitely slow down or stop attacks. Yes, sir. But I will get to that. That's coming shortly. In the meantime, let me tell you something. Physical and sexual abuse not only happens in the workplace, but it also happens personally. It's shameful, it's uncalled for. And when it happens to you women, you need to speak up. I was personally affected by a circumstance where a woman was put through both physical, mental, and sexual abuse. And I wished I'd been a little bit more aware of it when it happened. And if I could have talked to that person, I would have made a world of difference. But saying something and being part of the solution is far better than being part of the problem and letting it fester to the point we are at today. Somebody that can give you a personal perspective on that is with us in the audience today. Somebody's very near and dear to me. It's the Mrs. Bossman herself. When it comes to dealing with consequences in being abused or being made to feel like you're less than adequate, such as what I referred to a minute ago, and I know you heard what I was talking about. So from that perspective alone, I want you to talk about for just a minute. What was going on in your mind then, why it was hard to say something, and why all these years later you feel so much better because you did.
Well, the reason it was hard to say something is because any abuser will get you to that point where you're scared to say something. And they make you feel like no one's going to listen to you. You don't matter. You're nothing without them. That's a bunch of, excuse my language, that's a bunch of bullshit. I learned that the hard way. It almost cost me my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it, even had I said something to anybody, I think it would have made the matters worse. Because that person that I was with at the time was an ex-fiance. I almost married him. He came in acting like he was Prince Charming, had the good job, had the good money, made everything look all picture perfect. until he put a ring on my finger, and he turned into I was his property. I couldn't go nowhere without him.
Mhm.
And he was always right there. So I had no time to say anything to anybody.
Yeah.
And to the point where one time, I will say it, he gave me a black eye.
Right.
He punched me and gave me a black eye.
Hmm.
And that's why I have this on this eye right here.
Yeah.
And my mom looked at me and go, what happened to her? And he told her, oh, a book fell on her face. They're liars. It's just like what they say about the devil. The devil comes to lie, kill, and destroy. And that's what an abuser does too.
That's
They
the
do the
pattern that
same
developed.
thing.
And now, all these years later, as you sit back now and think about what happened, um, what advice can you offer to the women in the audience that are currently facing what you faced, and what can you tell them about the positive impact of actually getting it off your chest and moving on? How has that helped you? I think
Oh,
that'll help
it
you.
was like a huge weight came off my shoulders the moment I said something.
Mhm. Yeah.
What happened? What they need to do is first they need to speak up.
Mhm.
They need to find a moment in time
Mhm.
where they have a friend, family member, someone, police, somebody that they need to talk to, and
Right.
bring it to their attention. What's going on?
Mhm.
Names, phone numbers, addresses, you name it.
Mhm.
Try and put some money aside. Get out. That's number one. Get out. Get away from them.
Mhm.
Don't listen to their BS about no one else will love you, no one else will care about you. That's a bunch of BS. Yes, they will. And the one that loves you the most is God. God loves
Mhm.
you no matter what they say. Again, they're the devil, not God. So listen to God, not the devil.
Yes.
Once you are away from them, yes, you're going to be looking over your shoulder for a while. I did. But once you know that freedom is there and they are gone out of your life, it is the biggest thing ever to come off a person's chest. Like, yes, you will have mental scars. You will have um, things that will go, trauma that will happen for the rest of your life. You will
Mhm.
be dealing with it. I'm still dealing with it.
Yeah.
But give it to God. That's what I've been doing, giving it to God. And He's working so much out of me right now.
Yes. He has done a lot in your
Yes,
life,
He has.
and he will, I no doubt, he will provide every single time all of the resources you need
Yep.
to become healed, stronger, better, and he
Mm-hmm.
will give you every opportunity to someday sit at a table in front of those that wronged you and
Yes,
give you your day. He will do that. It is
exactly.
in the Bible. It has been talked about. I firmly believe it. And I think that's the way we need to go to get past all of this madness in terms of how women are treated today. I mean, because I really do think it's ridiculous. And my dear, I thank you for that perspective, because I mean, if they watch it on the replay, or if they're watching right now, I pray that they are personally affected by your story and see some wisdom in saying something, because that's
Yes,
half the battle. The
yes,
other half of the battle, um, and I'll get back to you here in a minute. The other half of the battle is me getting these controls right. Good Lord. Never have a perfect show, can I? The other half of the battle is actually setting it up so that when women speak out, we can actually positively help them out. I
yes,
mean, let's think about this. Let's think about what are strategic tips we can employ and use to help women out. And I'll come back to you here in just a minute, Lori. Um, One of those things would be apps on the cell phones. Today, we're so numbered with all these apps and things that can help us out. So a smart move, if you're a woman in trucking and you haven't already done this, download and start using something called Life 360 if you haven't already. It's a smart ploy because your family members and those you trust can always have access to you and always know where you're at. If you're in trouble, Life 360 can actually bring help to you. And with that, develop a passcode system. Say, for example, you're on the phone with a family member and you're approached by a would-be attacker or somebody that makes you feel uncomfortable or put you in a place where you don't want to be in. That passcode word or use of a phrase will alert that person on the other end of the phone. Okay, 911 on standby. Let's get this situation solved. Okay. John mentioned a minute ago about, and I don't remember his exact wording. So let me go back and just make sure. Personal protection. Yes, but that's a dicey thing. A lot of women are kind of on the fence with that. Some don't mind mace. I've given my wife the strategies, skills, and direction to use mace, and she'll use it in 2 seconds flat, so don't make her mad. So I mean, that is one strategy. Personally, dear, do you feel intimidated by using it? Will you hesitate, if ever?
No.
I shouldn't think so, and I don't think the average woman would, but that's not the purpose of mentioning this. Personal protection devices only go as so far as the willingness of the person holding it. Think about it. If you've got one of these, I don't know anybody that's really thought that process through. Because that's actually an effect that will change someone or end someone's life. So you don't never want to really
Yeah.
entertain that idea, but even tasers or mace, they're kind of iffy too.
Self-defense classes.
I was just going to mention that. Yes, self-defense classes. The whole passcode idea, you know, I mean, on that though, there are a number of other things. I think I got a couple of comments waiting. So let's see what those comments are. Okay. Here's one. I don't know exactly what direction she's traveled, but I think what she's saying is it also has an SOS button so you can press yourself to alert others in the circle. I didn't think about that, but good point that my daughter makes. But I still say the passcode system is also quite effective too, because between that and that passcode, you have a circle of people around you. Just think about it. Because the name of the game is safety. And moreover that, it's let's make the environment such that women don't feel threatened coming in or intimidated to even try. Because the nonsense Brittany went through didn't need to happen. Okay? The nonsense that other lady went through, that Mother Trucker highlighted, really, he didn't need to be in that truck to begin with. So John points out too, iPhones have that built in automatically. See, I didn't know that. I'm not an iPhone user. But anyway, Android, maybe, I don't know. I don't know enough about that technology to really offer anything. My thing is I want to offer suggestions that give you women the opportunity to not only defend yourself, stay safe while you're out there, but also help companies raise the expectations. Us men, we don't have to think about a safe working environment. You ladies, on the other hand, you do. And it's sad. It's a sad reality. Unfortunately, it is a reality. But that don't mean we have to accept it. Now, I've long said you can either be part of the solution or you can be part of the problem. I err on the side of being part of the solution, and I've always been that way. So let's
Dobermans and
start.
pit bulls do the job too.
I stepped on you, dear. What did you say?
Said Dobermans and pit bulls do the job well too.
You know how I feel about pit bulls. But you're quite right. It is quite effective. And I do see a number of women carrying larger animals with them. So I think that's an intimidation tactic. It's quite effective. Because if I see a Doberman or a pit bull with a lady, stand back. Warning. Not to say there's anything wrong with the dogs, but I don't want to piss off a Doberman. That's all I'm saying.
Or a Rottweiler.
Uh-huh. I think I just started a conversation. Ariana says, I didn't know that, and I'm an iPhone user. All right, well, I guess you and John got a lot to talk about. I mean, I'm learning stuff every day about technology. So, it's, one thing after another. Let's think about one last thing. And I want to leave this show on a positive note. Okay. You ladies out there, did you happen to notice the way the clip ended with Mother Trucker? And she emphasized thankfulness on the part of where she parked and where she put herself. Let me see if I can recount that for you and build on a point here.
Like bull hauler, pig hauler, flatbedder, just because they have instruments that hurt if you do anything. And if those two gentlemen had not been sitting in their seats and seen what was going on, I probably would not be here.
And she thought something like this would never happen.
Right there is a good point to build on, okay? If you're a woman in the trucking industry, or if you're thinking about getting into the trucking industry, develop a buddy system. Network with people you can trust. And when possible, okay, develop a system where you're never alone in a circumstance where obviously you shouldn't be bothered, but unfortunately, it's not just the drivers you got to worry about, but it's also the riffraff. Have you been out to Ontario, California lately? You drive in that damn TA parking lot and there's like people all over the place. I don't know how they get on there, but they do. But that kind of thing happens all over the country. These people swarm these truck stops looking for sugar daddy money, looking for God knows what, and they shouldn't be there. But that leads to another point. They need to step up security in these truck stops. Security and a buddy system, I think, will go a long way to improving the environment for all women and all people in trucking today. What are your thoughts, Frank, on what I've mentioned so far? You got anything to add, or maybe something I might have missed?
Well, you pretty much summed most of it all up there. And I was going to talk about it just a while ago, like your wife there was talking about. It is perfectly legal, 100% for anyone to carry a stun gun or stun device in
Yes.
a commercial truck. So don't have to worry about that. Now, pew-pews, that's a different story. That depends on the state you're in and their laws. Each law,
That is the
each state has
topic
a different type of
and that is a
deal on
topic
that.
I'm going to purposely and cautiously avoid on today's show, because I want to keep it positive and I want to keep it built in the direction of solutions that don't involve that. And for
Right.
obvious
And I
YouTube
wouldn't want it
reasons,
to be
I
involved
also,
either.
right. And for obvious YouTube reasons, I think it's safer not to put that in the discussion. So, but the fact that you mentioned what you did, I fully agree. Every state is different, but let's not go there. No one person on the planet should be put in a position to feel it necessary to resort to those measures to begin with. So, that having been said, okay, let's be positive. Let's be the voices for the people that don't have the capacity of defense. Proverbs 31 says, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and the needy. And you know what? That is my purpose, and that is my message to you. If you're out there running a truck stop, running a shipper and receiver facility, running anything that has to do with trucking in any way, shape, or form, don't be afraid to be like that bull hauler and the car haulers and the guys that drive those long nose Pete's. Okay? Don't be afraid to get out and intercede when you see a man and a woman in a parking lot having a disagreement. You don't know them. You might be interrupting, but on the same vein, you might also be saving somebody's life. So
Agreed.
don't be afraid to speak up for those who might not otherwise be able to. So
I'd like
often
to
we
say
hear,
something, Steve. Oh, go ahead, Lori.
I was going to say, here's the answer to your question you asked me 2 or 3 days ago. Trucking is blank. Instead of trucking being a brotherhood, trucking should be a familyhood.
yes,
And
it
there was
is.
a time when there was that, and I wished it would go back to it.
Yes.
Part and parcel
Um,
to the slogan at the start of my show, which is we can make trucking great again. That is one way we need to do it, because back in the day, Frank, when you and I were in, diapers, as it were, back in the day, easy mama, back in the day, that's what this job in this industry was.
hmm
It was a brotherhood. Nowadays, it's just a pastime. Nowadays,
Yeah.
it's just a freaking job. And that, unfortunately, is really sad, Good to say, get rid of all the nonsense, but there are evil people and they do evil things. Since we can't force people to have morals and values, you can learn to protect yourself. Amen on that. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the whole purpose of this show. We want you ladies to protect yourself. But moreover and more importantly, if you're a female in the trucking industry, okay, and you run across this beautiful black truck somewhere, know that I have your back. Because first of all, it's unnecessary that you ladies need to be put in that position. Okay?
Okay, I'd like to say one quick thing, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, Frank.
This 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 is kind of a shout out to one of my members and moderators.
Amen.
Kudos to this young lady, as I'll call her. Her name is Nan. She is a great lady. She has been in the trucking industry, driving trucks since 1980. I was hoping she could join us. I'm hoping maybe she'll watch this live, even if it's a recording later on she watches. And maybe she can come back and join us when we reconvene with another story like this, because it would be wonderful for her to join. I'd love to hear her stories and opinions, because she is a long time lady driver and she deserves to be treated right, as well as
Yes.
others.
Yes. I fully agree with that. So I am going to close on a positive with today's show. I fully always want to do that. But we've so far summarized that business today is a lot different than it used to be. Today, we are met with an industry that unfortunately doesn't serve females well. It does not, unfortunately, provide an environment of safety and security. And when you think about it, that's really a shame. We can do better. It's time to shatter those glass ceilings. You ladies have made such a valiant effort in becoming more, becoming better, and hitting those glass ceilings. I think we owe you more. I think we owe it to society to do more for you guys. We need to demand that we get better from these companies while the current culling is going on. It's going on. We're losing companies, we're losing drivers. So what we're left with needs to be cream of the crop. And if you ladies are game, I'm up for making sure you have all that you need to succeed, to be prosperous, to be happy. And you as a part of society have every right to expect more from those around you. I mean, honestly, it don't. I can get the right music playing. There we go. I'll get this right one day. It don't take much, ladies, okay? If you're new, moment, down below, hit the like button, become a subscriber. If you're a lady and you like news about trucking, certainly join the fun, join the channel, and keep an eye out, because this is not the last show about ladies I intend to do. I'm going to do another one either this week or next, depending on the lineup of guests I can get. So if you're a female trucker and a lady in the audience, and you want to sound off and help truckers everywhere in the world, keep tuned in to Truckin City, because Media Matters and Frontline, we are all about making trucking great again. Thank you for contributing to today's show. Thank you for the wonderful work you do in trucking today. Be sure and subscribe to Driving with John, to the Grumpy Old Trucker, and keep on being blessed and delivering those loads. It's the trucks that deliver the loads, but it's the people like you that bring life to the people of America. I screwed that line up. I'm just a broadcaster. I'm not perfect. Till next week, keep it real. And by all means, keep it rolling.